Hi, I'm Sin. We're with Mark Wilkinson down here at Commercial Bay, Saxon and Parole. He's just arrived in New Zealand, Aotearoa, for a run of shows. Just dropped a tune on his own label, and we're going to talk deep into all of that and more. Mark, aka Wilkinson, lovely to have you here with us.
Thank you very much.
Kia ora, how are you?
I'm good. We're just saying that sort of coming down from the weekends, 5 days of shows when you haven't done shows for 14 months, it's pretty crazy, So, and we were riding off adrenaline. I mean, we had like a serious lack of sleep. It's just amazing because you I've been like going to bed at 10 o'clock every night, getting up at 7 a.m. for the last year, right? Which is something that I never used to do. And now it's like, my body's like, oh, hello, this is what we used to, this is what we're doing now. So yeah, just been coming down off it, and it was amazing, like reflecting now, really feeling like I can reflect on the weekend and just how amazing it was and what an experience,
Before we dive deep into the shows, you're obviously in the middle of a full-blown nationwide tour.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the last 14 months.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you keep yourself busy? What do you do?
It's been in the studio all the time. Like literally, me and Nick, Subfocus, we finished our album in the first sort of part of the lockdown. We were kind of like, right, okay, we got to finish this now, So we had that conversation pretty much straight away. We did a few sessions with each other, then we locked down, and we did it remotely, which was, because for us to work, we've been working on the Portals album for, I think it was a good couple of years, and because of our schedules, getting into the studio with each other was becoming difficult. Just trying to get in, we'd do a day a week maybe, but then we were like, right, cool, we can work on it in our own studios, and we just had this system working where we'd like one person work on one track, the other person work on the other, and then we kind of like swap over when you get bored of one song, working on that all the time. It really worked for us, and we managed to finish it, obviously, and then so it was actually a productive year. 2020 was very terrible for the live industry, but for us finishing a project and promoting it, and we got to do this like Corfe Castle thing, and there was a few highlights still in that year, and then since then I've just been working in my own studio, writing my own music, and it's been nice, but I was just like, I want to get out again, and this was perfect for me. I was really getting to the end of my tether. I was like, I need some people to scream at me. I need that like gratification. I didn't realise how much how much my head needed that,
And there's only so many people you can send it through and be like, hey, what do you think of this? And then they'll be like, yeah, it's good. And you're like, do you really like it?
Yeah. Like, come on, man. It'd be
I
like
need more.
It'd be like Friday nights, get home, just be me and my girlfriend, just can't even have mates around, so you're just like, it's been really tough actually, and it's kind of like I just can't believe how quickly you get back into the swing of things as well. I mean, I've been like partying every day. It's just been mad. As soon as I got out, I think I came here and then just sent it pretty hard, and carried that on till Sunday, and now I'm just sort of leveling out again before the next run of shows.
With music and making music in your own time, how do you find inspiration within the four walls when you're in lockdown?
Yeah,
where does that come from?
I think that kind of like that was interesting. I kind of felt like just I think from other people, and I'm hearing like other music, being inspired. There's been a lot of, even though there hasn't been shows, there's been like this kind of like still an resurgence of new music coming through. I think everyone's been a lot more productive, so I'm hearing new ideas, not just from drum and bass, but through sort of other genres of music. And I think that's kind of inspired me, and also just really for me personally, I was just thinking like I've got to make the most of this time because this won't happen again. I mean, how sort of much music I'm writing at the moment reminds me of like back in 2012 when I wrote Take You Higher and Afterglow and Half Light and all those tunes. I feel like I'm in that zone, and I haven't been in that zone for maybe like 7 years. I've been battling with the live show, DJing, just trying to do it all and producing. It's just really hard to get into one headspace, So it's been, that's kind of how I've dealt with that and also just been inspired, because I've known that I've got this gift now, which is time. And sometimes, you run out of steam and you're like, right, need to call it for, a few days, but I love it, so, yeah.
And is that your advice for a young producer? What do you do when you find that you've got this writer's block, or you're finding that you're coming up with ideas that aren't necessarily what you want to produce? Do you run with it, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I absolutely used to get writer's block. I think the moment, I haven't had writer's block in a long time, and I think it's because I don't put any pressure on myself when I'm in the studio. I kind of I know that I really trust myself now, because I've written quite a few tunes that have really connected with people, and I wasn't expecting to write them, and that's so it's really letting go and just being like, I'm going to try something new, not trying to I need to write this amazing. Just do some weird stuff, and just experiment, and that's when you get the best ideas, I think, and those are the ones that really connect with people, So it's kind of just not trying to be in control of it and just going and having fun,
I think that's what the most exciting thing about you as a producer. You dance around the commercial element of drum and bass, but also you bring us tunes like What and heavy, hard-hitting, industrial sounding drum and bass.
Yeah.
What do you think is do you have a favourite sound of drum and bass, maybe at the moment, or is there something that just will ride you to the end?
Yeah, I mean, I just find I kind of write a tune and I'm like, oh, this is, I definitely see kind of tunes in certain brackets that I put Illuminate into the same kind of zone as Take You Higher, and All For You into the same bracket as Afterglow, and I do have these little brackets and I just go, I haven't done, it's like having a meal, like your 7-day week, I'll have a curry night, or I just sometimes I'm like, okay, well I'm gonna dip into that, and I'll try and I'll go for that. I call it like a palette of sounds, like a soft piano with a soulful vocal and a rolling break. Those are the recipes, and sometimes I just use different recipes and I'll never have the same meal 2 or 3 times in a row. Do you know what I mean? I switch it up, and I think that's the important thing to do. I've always loved how diverse drum and bass is, and I've always just wanted to make a little bit of everything, and and that's kind of what I do, And I think that my overall production style, there's definitely things that I do that are characteristic towards me and only me, and that's kind of what my unique thing is, I guess. So,
yeah. What are those?
I have no idea.
I'd love to know.
I just don't know. I think it's the way I'm very picky about the vocals I use, the lyrical content in those vocals, and I think there's probably a few little things, some of the samples I use and the sound of the mix down as well. Yeah.
While we're here, I'd love to ask, what software did you use when you first started out, and has that changed now that you've progressed into that live element from portals and synthesizers and all that hardware?
Well, when I started doing music production probably when I was about 12 or 13. It was on Cubase back then, and it was to do with my school. They were just like, is anyone interested in trying this thing? It was super basic, so I started learning the basics on that, and then I got Reason when I was 16, I think, and I was writing my first few tunes on that, and then I started to get into drum and bass, and I noticed people like TC and quite a few people using Logic, so then I was like, oh well, if they use Logic, then I'm in there. So I did that for a long time, and then I started working with Nick a couple of years ago, and he was on Ableton, so I was like, well, if we're going to do a collaboration project, we need to have our systems synchronized. So then I just got onto Ableton, learned how to use that, and I'm still using that now, and I love it. But I record vocals on Logic because I think up until now it's been better for record, like the tracking, and I like the some of the plugins that you have in there. And I also end up mastering my own tracks in Logic now because I just prefer the sound of it. Bit of everything really, but Ableton's what I kind of do the bulk of everything on, yeah.
And was it your first time playing around with all that hardware for the Portals album?
Yeah, we the Culture Vulture, things like that we'd used before. I've always liked pianos, like live pianos, but some of the gear we were just we had no idea, And the amazing thing about working in the studio like that is you've got a lot of engineers there who the idea is that you move around, and you know, if I was to go and jump on a synth over there, it would be plugged in and ready to go. It was amazing. So we were just capturing all this sound. We never went in there to be like, right, we're going to write 10 songs in here. We were like, let's get loads of ideas that we can then, you know, refine in our own time.
Cool. Let's go back to the very, very beginning. I don't think anyone that has followed your music for a very long time knows about the Wilkinson before Wilkinson.
Yeah.
So what was Mark doing before he found music, and how did he really cement himself in the music industry over in the UK?
I think I was in bands since I was a kid, and I was a drummer, and like I just found that I had these ideas, but no one really listens to the drummer for any musical ideas. They kind of just go like, just shut up, like stop. What are you doing? I've got this idea. Do you want me to do this? And they're like, just play along, like do what you do. Like no one cares. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was in bands, and funnily enough, with the guitarist that is in my live show at the moment, he's like an old school friend. I was in bands with him, me and him. But yeah, then I kind of just got into being a teenager, really into biking, drinking, kind of like into the clubbing thing. So I stopped kind of the band, being in a band, and then I was dabbling around with music production, and then I sort of started going to nightclubs, getting into hospitality events when I was sort of 16 through Scientific. He was my best mate's brother's best mate, so then we sort of got in there, and I was just like, what is this? I was just like, what is this? So I was going to like Heaven and Herbal back, and you know, I remember filming once in Heaven, and just being like, and Andy C was there. I remember filming him for an interview, and I was just like, this is madness. Like, this is like being in a band, but like you don't have the kind of to deal with the band. You're just you, and you're playing records. And then I sort of got into the vinyl side of things. I just fell in love with so many aspects of it. Buying records in the record store, you know, just like having it, and then just bringing it home, and it's like a tangible thing, you know. And that was it really, and that kind of started me on my journey of just like being like, I think this is what I want to do, you know. And yeah.
So you started as the drummer, and then you ended up as the main singer, really.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think drumming and DJing is there is a similarity in the sense of like you're into the groove and the beats, so they kind of, I imagine that was kind of a bit of a merge there from that, you know.
Yeah. Well, you're the conductor of the dance floor, really, keeping everyone in time, and
yeah, and you're like,
yeah. So clubbing days early on, it was something that kind of just came naturally as you fell into that world.
Yeah.
And then from then on, you were like, yo, I reckon I can DJ. Let's give it a bloody whirl.
Yeah, and you know, I was really into DJing. I used to try and get whatever gig I could, you know. I was doing student nights, I did student nights at Fabric, and I'd have to play everything, like commercial.
Oh, please tell me what kind of music you play.
You know, there was all sorts. I mean, back then, we're talking, I don't know, 2007, 2008.
Like Calvin Harris and stuff.
Yeah, but then I was trying to play like Nero, like, you know, a bit of that. I was trying to get a bit of dubstep in there, and you know, so I did play at like Ministry of Sound and Fabric at an early age when I was like maybe 18, and then I got into doing some gigs regionally, and I was just, you know, what was I doing? I was emailing promoters, I was sending mix CDs, I was going to bars, I was like, can I DJ here, you know? And you know, I was doing that, and I was just trying, and gradually, like, you know, getting gigs, but it was the music really that then laid the foundation for me to get gigs as an artist.
Yeah,
and,
for sure. Do you think that grind of, you know, emailing back and forth, or not nowadays dropping mixtapes, but maybe, you know, sending mixes online to promoters, do you still think that is a thing?
I'm not sure now. I think it's super difficult for people to. I think it's like almost easier for people to get to someone, but it's harder to get listened to, because I remember AOL Messenger was a big platform for people sending dub plates and you know, people sending tunes, and that I basically knew a DJ called Basher, and he gave me a load of AOL people's aims, you call them. So you basically be like, right, Andy C, Ram, And then I'd just be like sending him loads of tunes, and I'd be like, cool.
Little
and
nudges
I'd
and
be
like,
yeah, Zinc, hi, all these people. I was like, wicked, like. And then one day I was like, hang on, and then one day Andy C like replied to her name, and he was like, yeah, love the tunes, Geese. I was like, what? You know what I mean? And then then he sent me a message, and I remember it being in the middle of the night, and I was like, it was like 1 a.m, and he was like, oh, love for the tunes, and I was like, what? Yeah. So then, and I was only like, I think I was 20 at the time, so yeah, it was madness. It was crazy, yeah.
Do you bank those memories and those feelings, do you store them and think about them often and kind of compare them to what you're doing now on stage and your music touching so many people?
Yeah, if I'm honest, like I wish I did, but I don't. You kind of do run away in the moment sometimes, and I'm always trying to remind myself of it, and I think it's really important to do that. But, even like the shows this weekend is like, I can't even quite. This is why these last few days you sort of come down, and when you can get in nowadays, you can get really caught up in it all, and it is good to do that, definitely. And I do try and remind myself. And I think when I meet kids who are like producing now, even the other day, on the George FM show, I do always remember. I know I can see that buzz that they've got and that energy, and I kind of like. I think like in life, right, you're only going to experience that feeling like once of like, oh, like someone's listening to my music. So I find it amazing when I see like, they're like, oh, I've worked, because I know how hard they work to like get to that point where your music's like actually good and actually could be released, and it's like that feeling and that buzz is you only get that once in your life, and it's like super important. So I kind of live off that a little bit, and I'm like, I remember that feeling.
So you've come to New Zealand, you're banging out a whole bunch of shows up and down the country. Why New Zealand? It was your first stop, it was your first port of call for, since coming out of lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's nowhere else you can do it, and I think I still kind of joke with people. I don't understand how like this is like arguably my most popular country, UK's got a bigger population to this, but like I walk around here and it's like I get stopped like 20 times a day, and it's like, and it's not, it just feels, I'm just so lucky that it's the only place in the world that is doing live music at the moment, and it's also, my music's really popular here, so I'm kind of like amazed, and I've been looking forward to it for so long. We've been planning this for a long time, this tour. And it kind of got me going through like not coming out here at New Year's, giving that a break, because I've been out here like every year, so I was just like, right, this time. Then it was really hard to do that. It was really hard to give it a break and not just like come over and be like, oh, hey guys, yeah, come out here to loads of shows. So I holding off, and yeah, it was hard to do, but I just love, I've been chatting to Adam about it. I think everyone's just so chilled, even when you meet people in the street and stuff like that, it's very chilled, and they kind of there's a respect of like your humanity almost, like, it's like, like, oh yeah, do you mind if I get a photo? Yeah, and then it's pretty chilled,
Yeah.
it just feels really natural out here, and yeah, I just love it.
You've been coming here for what, 10 years? Do you think it's about 10 years now?
Yeah.
You
it would be.
Your first show underneath a pizza place.
Yeah, I did.
I think it was called Baccio, or like Bacco, B-A-C-C-O, and it was underneath a pizza place.
Yeah.
And it was a really small club, and I think that was, if I'm correct, if I've done my...
I think that was
one of your first shows.
Yeah, because I did a tour with like Zomboy and TC, and Harley was on it, and Reach one. And I think that was it, yeah.
And now you're selling out like arenas across the country.
Mad.
What is it about New Zealand and your music? Do you think it's just
like
that elevating feel-good drum and bass, or?
Yeah, I wish I knew, but I quite like the fact that I don't. So I think it's just there's a connection, and I don't know. It's like I naturally like sort of the southwest of England and Cornwall and West Country, where it's a little bit more outdoorsy, and there's a bit of I see a similarity between that and New Zealand, And I naturally, you know, I'm popular in those places, and I love those places, and I feel like there's this natural draw. I don't know. I just don't know. But I'm happy to just like keep doing what I'm doing, and you know, stay in this places.
Let's talk about trends in drum and bass, because I know that there's been a few that have kind of come through. We've had the rollers, we've had the foghorn situation, which came out of nowhere. What do you predict will be next for the drum and bass trend?
I'm trying to think what I'm like. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, you've got so many. It's like even like I lose track of how many. You know, just being out here at the moment, and there's so many DJs that I've never met before. Even some DJs that I've not heard of that are out touring out here. And I remember when it was just like basically me and Boris, like it's just DJing out here for, you know, a long time ago. So yeah, I don't know what the trend is. I mean, you know, the jump up kind of sound is like, in a way, you know, stuff that K9's doing, K Motions, Boo. I think they kind of do a mixture of everything though, so it's like they're kind of bringing in vocals as well into the track, so it's like there's a bit more of a song structure, and then it's like almost reminds me of like the dubstep kind of thing that happened, where it's like you've got the vocals and you've got these really hard drops, and it's like switch drops. I just don't know what's going to happen, you know. I don't know, but I love that about drum and bass. I just sort of I think the 4/4 thing's pretty, you know, the sort of hard style. You know, I was thinking, yeah, I could do one of those. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was even saying to Adam, I was like, mate, I'm here and I'm in New Zealand. I want to like make some sort of like 4/4 tune, but also I'm like, I don't want to be cooped up like. You know.
I'll take you to a techno party. And we'll get some inspiration, eh?
Yeah, definitely up for that. Yeah.
Young producers, we're so incredibly lucky. We've got an amazing array of talent and a lot of awesome individuals coming through the ranks. In terms of electronic music, we're doing it really well here. You know that. That's why you come here.
Yeah.
Biggest advice for the young bucks coming through. You know, it is a hard industry, and I think you do have to have a bit of a strong shell, don't you, to get through it?
You do, yeah. I mean, like, I think nowadays, fortunately, there's like, I don't know, there's more fair record deals on the table. I mean, before you even get to the record deal kind of area, it's like, you've really got to just work at like, you know, kind of your sound and just get it to the level that is as good as like, you know, the top guys, you know, really, like that's the reality, is like you've got to get it to the level, like the production levels, to get noticed. So you may as well just like hone in on it and just go in on it, really like reference loads of tracks, get feedback from your mates and build it to a place where it's actually like, you know, good enough to be like, right, I can send it to, you know, someone to listen to. Like this track by Hazy, I think, the other day, right? And I was like, that's really well executed, you know what I mean? It's like got there's even the palette of sounds. I was like, that's in the vocal production and things like that. I was like, that's well executed to a point where, you know, I could be like, probably have a couple of conversations, you know, make some suggestions, not massive ones, and then, you know, you could release it, you know, on like my Sleepless label or something like that. You know, that's the level you kind of need to get to, and to be fair, he's done that, so it's like, yeah, it's cool.
So let's talk about Sleepless.
Yeah.
What an amazing, exciting next step into your musical journey. Is it something that you've always wanted to do? Create a label, give young producers a chance?
Well, yeah, it's funny because it's like come out of, I'm always like wanting to do something more, so it kind of came out of like lockdown. I've been planning it for a while. We had Sleepless, we were doing events around the UK, and then I really wanted to, just kind of give back a little bit in a sense, and I was getting sent loads of tunes, and also I was just like wanted to have my ear, I wanted to have a real reason other than DJing, to have my ear to the ground and be looking out for new talent and stuff like that, and then we kind of launched it. Obviously, you know, the Montel remix as well. we were like, right, we've got a pretty big launch here, because I had like my single, I'd completed my deal that I was in, and I had been in for the last 10 years, so it just felt like the right time to sort of move on and take things in a bit more control into my own hands. And you know, I've just been astounded by the amount of music that's been sent through. I mean, it's like, we're talking like, my email's just gone off, do you know what I mean?
Cool.
And
that's
just,
exciting.
Yeah, and it feels really good to like, you know, a lot of the new guys, like for me to give them a bit of feedback and just help them, you know, kind of, you know, things like working with vocalists and stuff like that, that's something that I kind of pride myself on, and I've been learning how to do that for a long time. So it's like, yeah, definitely I'm loving having the label, and it's so exciting. It is like a lot of work, so you're like, you know, you have to do right by the artists as well. Yeah. Karen, yeah.
Okay, so lastly, what is next for Wilkinson? What can we look forward to? Tell us everything.
Well, I'm working on a new album at the moment, which is, I've actually got like so many tracks for it, and I'm really excited about it because I've been able to concentrate on it for ages. Obviously we've got the label as well, Sleepless, so I kind of I'm just building that up. And yeah, just enjoying actually being able to have way more control, you know, like be able to do things like, right, I'm going to New Zealand, I'm going to release a tune while I'm in, you know, in my quarantine.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is about like keeping on dancing and, you know, hoping for the future, you know, for the rest of the world. So it just felt like, you know, I can do things like that now that maybe I couldn't do before. And yeah, just being able to release music more frequently, and yeah, definitely concentrate on the music more than anything.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mark
Wilkinson.
Wilkinson. It's been an honour to sit with one of your heroes in such an intimate
amazing.
space.
Oh, mate.
So thank you very much for your
So
music,
nice.
and I can't wait to dance at the gig this weekend.
Yes, it's going to be good.